Hello everyone, you're watching Global Leaders Network WinTV. I'm your host, Yesoe Yoon. There are many leaders globally in areas such as government, non-for-profit organization, business, education, hospital, and etc. Global Leaders Network invites this kind of leaders and share their wonderful stories. Today I invited 2020 Republican candidate for Cook County State's Attorney, Christopher Pfannkuche. How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing? Thank you.
Good. So how's everything? How's your campaign?
Campaign's coming along wonderfully. It's got a lot of momentum. I'm speaking all over the county. I'm doing about 5 events a day, bringing my message directly out to the people of Cook County.
And then I heard that you collected, how many signatures you collected? You collected like 4 times more than what you needed, right?
Right. I needed roughly 2,000 signatures. I turned in well over 8,000 signatures.
Wow, great success turnout.
Yes.
Yes. Would you please introduce yourself, because there are a lot of audiences who want to know about you?
Sure. So my name's Christopher Pfannkuche. I'm an attorney. I've been an attorney for 40 years now. I'm running for Cook County State's Attorney. The State's Attorney is the chief criminal prosecutor for Cook County, the person whose job it is to prosecute violent criminals and keep the streets safe for all of us. I'm a career criminal prosecutor. I've been a prosecutor for 3 different government agencies. First, 31 years with the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, the office I'm running for right now. I served as a trial supervisor with that office. Secondly, I worked for the Office of the Special Independent Prosecutor. I received one of those appointments. You're hearing about that with the Jussie Smollett case right now. And then years ago, right out of law school, I worked for the Macon County, Decatur, Illinois State's Attorney's Office and rose eventually to be head of their traffic division down there. I've handled thousands of criminal cases. My litigation experience is obviously quite extensive. I've served on the executive boards of various bar associations and boards of governors of various bar associations. I'm a university professor. I've taught criminal law and business law through the years. I'm a published legal author. I wrote the book on search warrants for the state of Illinois. I'm a search warrant expert. I also wrote the expungement guide for Cook County that allows people to expunge their records in certain situations. I'm a police training instructor. I've guest lectured at the Chicago Police Training Academy. But I also have my own police training program, and I've trained police officers all across Cook County. I'm also a member of the world's largest group of professional police training instructors. So I train the best of the best instructors around the world how to be better. I'm very proud of that. And then 3 more things. In 2017, I was under consideration for a presidential appointment to be named the next top federal prosecutor, the next U.S. attorney for the Northern District of Illinois. I was under consideration for 9 full months. I'm very proud of that. I currently serve on the board as the legal advisor for the Chicagoland Metropolitan Crime Commission. And years ago, I tried a case that was the first of its kind in the nation. The American Bar Association became aware of my case. They put on a 2-day national symposium in Washington, D.C., flew me out there. I was their keynote speaker for 2 days, and my case set legal precedent for every prosecutor in the nation to use on a certain point of law. I'm very proud of that.
I see. What made you to run for office?
I've never been a political creature per se. I've just been a guy that's done his job, and I like to think I've done my job very well over 40 years as a lawyer. But I worked for 31 years with the State's Attorney's Office with one goal in mind: seeking justice for crime victims. And also in the process, obviously, to get the violent criminals off the street. I worked very hard to build up the reputation of the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. It used to be known as one of the finest prosecutors' offices in the nation. I've watched in the last 3 years the current State's Attorney, Kim Foxx, destroy the reputation of the State's Attorney's Office. In 3 short years, she's destroyed what I spent a lifetime trying to build up. And I can't let that happen. So I'm running against her in 2020 for Cook County State's Attorney.
Why do you think, this is going to be a difficult question, but I think that you can answer this, of course.
Okay.
Why do you think people should vote for you?
Because I'm the most qualified candidate in the race. That's easy. This is an office that political affiliation should not matter. I'm running, yes, on the Republican ticket, but political affiliation should not matter, Republican or Democrat. I have one job when I'm elected, and it's the most important job out there. I don't pass rules, regulations, policy, or procedure when I'm elected. My one job is to prosecute the violent criminals and keep the streets safe for you and your families, and to make sure that you're still alive when the sun comes up in the morning and safe from this insane gunfire that is killing people in many of our neighborhoods across Cook County. That's very important, and experience matters. One of the reasons the current state's attorney has failed is because she has no experience. She's never even tried a speeding ticket in her life. I've litigated over 1,000 criminal cases. Unless you've been out there fighting in the trenches for decades on a daily basis, seeking justice for crime victims, you do not know how to do this job. And I've done it very well for 4 decades.
What do you want to achieve after you get elected?
I want to get the crime rate down in this county. I want the streets to be safe for the people of Cook County. I live not just in Cook County, I live in Chicago, which is deemed the most violent city in the nation. We have more murders, more shootings, and more carjackings in Chicago than any other nation. I want to feel safe to walk any street in the city, and I want anybody else in this county to feel safe to walk every street in the city.
How can you control all the guns?
You go after the violent criminals. You do not do what the current state's attorney is doing. And number one, she's not prosecuting people like she should be. And number two, she's letting people right back out on the street after they commit crimes. These people see that, they know they're not being prosecuted, they feel emboldened, and they go right back out there and do the same thing again. And we're seeing that with these flash mobs that are appearing on the Magnificent Mile. They've been in the news many, many times over the last several weeks. One of the good examples was a flash mob of youths ran into one of the stores on the Magnificent Mile in Chicago. They maced the security guard so he couldn't see. And then they just grabbed handfuls and handfuls and bags of merchandise and just ran out the store because they know they're not going to be prosecuted. I'm going to go after those street gangs. I'm going to go after the violent criminals. I'm going to go after the repeat offenders. I'm going to get them off the streets, curb the gun violence, and I'm going to make our communities safer by getting the violent criminals off of our streets.
How many voters do you think that so far that voted for Kim Foxx in the past?
In the past? In the past, she got elected with a little over 1 million votes. But I'm eating away at that every single day. I'm taking my message right out to the people of Cook County directly by giving speeches every day, sometimes as many as 7 speeches a day to the voters of Cook County. That's what they need. They want to know that somebody's actually listening to them and actually willing to work with them. Not just somebody that they see on TV commercials on TV. They want to see a live person that is willing to listen and work with them, and that's what I'm doing.
And I think that you're the only one candidate from the Republican Party.
I actually have an opponent in the Republican primary.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yes, I have, and it's kind of a sham, I have an elected Democratic official running against me in the Republican primary.
Really?
He's been twice elected to Democratic office. He pulls the Democratic ballot. He admitted in a newspaper article that he's a Democrat. He's just running in the Republican primary. What I think and what a lot of people think is the Democratic machine is so afraid of my momentum and all the things that they've seen me do and all the places they've seen me go to speak that they're afraid. And they want to make sure that I spend all my money in the primary. I'm going to beat this guy. That's not the issue. He doesn't have my qualifications. And I will move forward. I think Kim Foxx is going to win her primary. And I think on November 3rd of 2020, it'll be Kim Foxx's name and my name on the ballot. And my name stands for experience, and hers does not. Hers stands for lawlessness in this county.
I see.
And I will win the general election.
Yes. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's why I asked. But good thing that I asked, because we don't want to vote for who is, Democrat. Apparently,
right.
Yeah.
And people need to vote for the person that's the most experienced.
More qualified.
Right. There's 6 candidates in this race. My 1 opponent on the Republican side and 4 on the Democratic side. Nobody has my level of experience and credentials. Nobody has worked anywhere near as long as the state's attorney's office as I have. And experience, again, does matter.
And I also heard that you have a very interesting background. You're also a pilot, too.
I've been a pilot, yes I am. I've been a pilot since 1984. It's one of my most favorite hobbies. I fly a variety of aircraft, single-engine aircraft, multi-engine aircraft, high-performance aircraft. I'm a seaplane pilot, and my proud accomplishment, I've done aerobatics and decommissioned World War II aircraft.
Wow.
Yes.
So you wanted it to become pilot, or someone else asked you to become pilot?
Oh, gosh. I wanted to be a pilot since I was a kid, as far back as I can remember.
When did you learn this, how to fly then?
Well, I got my license in 1984. I started training about 1982. And it takes a lot of study and a lot of perseverance to learn how to fly aircraft. It's not simple, but it's a remarkably fun hobby. So, and I've flown planes all over the country.
But I thought that it's a little bit, dangerous, because you gotta navigate the compass and everything. If you're not good at direction, and the only thing you can see is above is cloud, right? Cloud.
Well, is there a danger element to it? Yes, there's a danger element to stepping off the curb in the morning when you're on your way to work. Statistically, people think planes are unsafe, but statistically you are 44 times more likely to get killed in a car accident than you are in a plane accident. I will stick with that safer statistic, airplanes. Airplanes are designed so that they don't crash. They want to, if there is a plane failure, it's not that difficult to land that plane safely on the ground if you know what you're doing. I'm instrument rated, so I'm rated to fly in bad weather. I've actually flown a number of times in bad weather. Here's the deal. If you know what you're doing, and you're well trained as a pilot, and you learn not to ever exceed your limits, flying is a very, very safe hobby and a very safe career. And I've been doing it since 1984 to prove it.
What was your dream when you were young? Because you want to become a state attorney, a pilot. What was your dream?
Oh gosh, I had many dreams when I was young, and I don't even know where to begin, and I fulfilled so many of them. I was one of those people that always knew what I wanted to be. From a young age, I always wanted to be a trial attorney. I used to watch Perry Mason when I was young. That may have certainly played a part of the role in it, but I always wanted to go out and get justice for crime victims. And a trial attorney is what I became. For 31 years with the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, I was on trial every single day of my life, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day with different trials. And I loved it. Going to battle, doing the right thing, seeking justice. I love challenges, and I love adventure. I'm a pilot, as we've just talked about, since 1984. I've even shuttled planes around the country for people. Last year, I took my mom to Hawaii for her birthday, and we went commercially. We spent 10 days in Maui, and while we were in Maui, I rented a plane, I flew, and I took my mom island hopping in Hawaii. And she got the biggest thrill out of it, as did I. But I've got other hobbies too that I enjoy. I travel a lot. I've been to every state in this country. I've been throughout Canada. I've been to many places in Mexico. I've been to the Caribbean. I've been to Europe. I love to travel. I'm a competitive snow skier. I used to ski a lot when I was younger. I used to do some competitive snow skiing when I was younger. And I'm a certified scuba diver.
Oh, me too.
Patty certified?
Yes.
Okay, very good. We'll have to talk about that afterwards. So I have a
license.
Okay, so I've done some interesting shipwreck diving and some very challenging underwater cave diving, which can be very interesting and very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. So I love a challenge. If it's a challenge out there, that's a challenge.
What is success to you, and what brings you happiness?
Success to me, in a personal sense, is going out and pursuing challenges. I love challenges. The bigger the challenge, the more I pursue it with every fiber in my body. Success professionally with me is doing the right thing, especially as a lawyer, doing the right thing in court, and always, above all else, seeking justice. Seeking justice for crime victims. And success for me as a prosecutor has been all about keeping the streets as safe as I can for everybody that not only lives in this county, but comes to visit this county. That's success for me.
What brings you happiness?
Happiness, a lot of those same things bring me happiness. I am, in my hobbies, I am so happy when I'm up in a plane 2 miles above the earth, because you're actually no longer on the planet when you're 2 miles up. You're 2 miles above the planet. and all the problems in your life and all the problems in the world are 2 miles below you, and all the problems seem so small. It is such a comforting feeling to be up there. I love to fly at night. A lot of pilots are afraid to fly at night. It's actually a special checkout that you have to get to be allowed to fly at night. And it is so peaceful. I love to do cross-country flights at night because it's so peaceful, nobody to bother you, and all the problems seem to fall away, below you on the ground.
Have you ever done that?
I haven't flown in other countries. I've flown in, well, I have. I take that back because I've been flying in the Caribbean.
Yeah, that counts.
I've done some island hopping myself in the Caribbean, and just myself in planes that I've flown. So I actually have flown in other countries down there. Most of my flying is in the United States, though.
Wow. So you're not scared at all?
Well, there are times where I close my eyes, but I have to peek periodically to see where I'm going. I'm not scared at all. I love flying. I'm at home when I'm 2 miles above this planet in a plane by myself. It is just so peaceful. Wow. There's nothing like flying a machine through the air because all of your knowledge and all of your experience has to come right there together to make you a safe pilot.
What about, maybe this is a personal question, but I always want to ask you because always on airplane they have co-pilots, right?
Right.
Yeah.
On commercial aircraft.
Yeah. So if you fly by yourself and you have to go restroom, how does this work?
Well, you time your rest stops appropriately. An interesting topic. You always want to have a stop. You don't want to make first of all, small aircraft don't have the duration of flying like big aircraft. In a big aircraft, you can fly from Los Angeles to New York City. Small aircraft, you do have to refuel. And the shortness of the hops are sufficient enough that you can make your appropriate rest stops at that time. But frankly, if you're in a plane, the beauty of being the pilot is if you need to stop, you can stop anytime, anywhere you want. You find an airport in your charts, you call the tower or approach control, tell them that you're seeking permission and clearance to come in and make a landing, and make the landing and do what you have to do. Get back in the plane and go back up in the air. I've actually, when I'm shuttling planes across country for people, obviously eating is another need to stop.
Right.
And there have been times where I've actually, one time in Kansas City, I buzzed a town because I was actually up with a friend of mine. We had to go to Las Cruces, New Mexico to pick up a plane for a flying club that I belonged to at Midway Airport at the time. So the two of us went down to Las Cruces, New Mexico and brought that plane, shuttled it all the way back to Chicago. And I remember flying at one point over Kansas, and I saw what I swore looked like a knight, as in a knight from medieval. It was shining armor and whatnot. And I saw it because I'd actually dropped down to the legal limit looking to see if I could spot a good restaurant. It was a small town. I wanted to see if they have a restaurant. They had a little airport, a little single landing strip right there at the end of town. So we landed there. We walked the 2 blocks to town, and then we walked over to this farm that was 2 blocks in the other direction because I wanted to see what it was that I saw from the air that piqued my interest. And what I saw was a guy dressed up, a mannequin, in all tin. And the next thing I saw next to him was a scarecrow, and the next thing I saw was a lion, and the next thing I saw was Dorothy and Toto. It was the replica of the farmhouse from The Wizard of Oz. And I spotted it from the air, and I wanted to see what it was, and it turned out to be a little museum of the Wizard of Oz movie. And those are the kinds of things you can do when you're flying. You see something that piques your interest, you land. If you want to look for a restaurant, you come low, you can buzz the town at the legal limit, see a good restaurant, and if there's an airport right there, put it down, go and grab something to eat. So you can choose to land whenever you want. And the nice thing about being a private pilot, flying a small plane, the plane's never going to leave without me.
And also, how long does it take to land and also take off?
Oh, you're talking the actual act of landing and taking off? A takeoff is very quick. You can take off in a matter of less than a minute. From a standing position to you're in the air, that takes less than a minute. Landing, the actual physical act of landing can take a minute, but the whole process of landing is much more time involved than that. you've got your approach, and especially if you're flying IFR where you're in solid clouds, there's a whole maneuver that you have to go through, and it's laid out in charts, vectors, compass degrees, everything is timed out. And that can take, once you're within 5 miles of the airport, that process itself can take 10 or 15 minutes. It's very precision oriented.
Right. Interesting.
Yes.
I want to fly one day, someday.
There is no more challenge than I've ever done like flying an aircraft through the air.
Really? I tried, first time I tried scuba diving, it was killing me.
It takes a while for the ears to get adjusted.
Yeah, and I hear everything, you know? Yeah.
And the water constantly wants to move you around underwater. We sit here at a table in chairs and we're not moving. But there's a current underwater, and that current swishes you back and forth constantly. You're always in motion.
Make you dizzy too, you know?
Yes. But it's fun. It's what makes it fun.
Right. Interesting world. A lot of people don't get to see underneath, the earth and the sea, under the sea. And I see clearly what's going on. And the fish are actually, they're talking fish,
Yes.
So,
I've actually been down as deep as 1,000 feet. You don't do it as a scuba diver.
Wow.
But if you've ever watched like the Discovery Channel, they have these they have two things, little diving bells, and they have little research submersible submarines that are no bigger than maybe a large desk, and they'll accommodate 3 people, a pilot and 2 passengers, and you're sitting side by side. It's that cramped inside. And I've been down in one of those 1,000 feet in the Caribbean to explore shipwrecks.
What did you see?
I saw a ship. We went down, where was I when I did this? Cayman Islands, Grand Cayman Islands. There's a very famous reef off Grand Cayman, and they have, part of the reef is called the Wall, because it's the reef, you're a scuba diver, so you know what a reef is, coral formation. There's a spot where this reef drops straight down, exactly 3,000 feet. And then there was an outcrop in the reef at 850 feet, big megaton boulder, and it formed kind of a V in the reef going straight down. And there was a cargo ship called the Kirk Pride that had been it was down there to deliver some cargo to the Grand Cayman Islands, but it arrived during a storm. It could not navigate through the harbor entrance of the reef. So they moored the cargo vessel just outside the reef, and they took the longboats ashore to get a good night's sleep, figuring they'd go back in when the weather cleared to bring the cargo boat in. Well, they got a good night's sleep, and they got up in the morning, and the cargo boat was gone. And what they discovered had happened is it was pouring rain, and the bilge pumps failed, and the boat took on water. So much water that it actually sank. And when it sank, it actually went down horizontally, right along the edge of the reef, but I can use a pen to demonstrate, right along the edge of the reef, and it wedged itself in 800 feet in this megaton boulder between that and the reef, right in that V, and it wedged itself horizontally. So one of the things we did, this little research submersible, is we went down 800 feet, moored ourselves right in front of the ship, about 50 feet in front, turned off all of our running lights. You would think at 800 feet down, it'd be very dark. It's actually much lighter down there. Once you get below the level of the silt, closer to the surface, it becomes much clearer and a lot brighter. And we could see the entire length of that 350-foot ship and 50 feet past it, and we're 50 feet in front of it. That means a 450-foot visibility at 850 feet down.
I see.
Interesting things that you can do when you scuba dive or fly that nobody else gets to do.
Wow, interesting. Yeah, I remember those days when I scuba dive.
You should go out and do it again.
Yeah.
It is so much fun.
But not with you, because I think you are so good at it already. Sound like expert. Me, I need an instructor.
I learn every single day, no matter what I do. Lawyer, pilot, scuba diver. It's a constant learning process.
You like challenge, I can tell.
I love challenges. Yes.
Yes. So, do you have any comments to our audiences today?
Well, again, I'm running for top prosecutor in Cook County. Sadly, Cook County has become the murder capital of America, the shooting capital, and the carjacking capital. Chicago is the 3rd largest city in the nation. New York City is first, Los Angeles is second, and then Chicago. And yet we have more murders here in Chicago than New York City and Los Angeles, California combined. That's not right. That should not be allowed to happen. And it happens because we do not have competent state's attorneys, elected state's attorneys, that know how to prioritize and go after the violent criminals. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't believe in mass incarceration. I've never believed in mass incarceration. This is not about putting everybody in jail. It's about being smart on crime. It's about focusing on the violent criminals and getting them off the streets. But it's also about giving first and second offenders and low-level nonviolent offenders a second chance by way of deferred prosecution programs and expungement programs. And remember, I wrote the expungement guide of Cook County. So giving people a second chance is what I'm all about. But the top prosecutor, it's his or her job to make the streets safer for the people in this county. And the only way you can do that is with experience. I'm the most experienced candidate, and I can do this job better than any other candidate, and I will do this job well when I'm elected state's attorney.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for sharing your story and then coming to our station today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for watching Global Leaders Network WinTV. We learned this today from Christopher. Love your challenge. And I want you to have all great 2020, New Year. And I want to see all of you next Thursday, 9 p.m. And until then, have a great week. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.